America celebrates the United States holidays. As we travel through the months of the year, we find many very special days along the way. They are fun-filled days to share with family and friends. But they are also days to remember the important people and events that have shaped the way we live today. We call these days holidays. And, like your birthday, each holiday has its own special day of the year, its own time to be celebrated. America celebrates President's Day.
Yeah, look at that. Oh. Hey, what's that? I don't know. A fire bell or something. No, that's not a fire bell. Come on, let's go check it out. Oh, look at that. Look how he's dressed.
Hear ye, hear ye. 'Tis a grand day.
Come on, let's go check it out.
For it is President's Day, of which I sing. Good day, Madam Town Crier, here with an important message. It's President's Day. Tell your friends.
Whoa, that's cool. How'd you do that?
Trade secret.
Maybe she didn't want that sticker.
No worries, young lass. She can always take it off, but she will think president when she does so.
What's the big deal about think president anyway?
Are you kidding me? Is he kidding me? Are you kidding me? It's a beautiful day to celebrate our leaders of freedom, sir. Ah, you caught me. Good President's Day to you. See, where was I?
Am I kidding?
Oh, right, yes. Are you kidding me? It's President's Day. That's what the big deal is.
I know. You don't have to go to school today.
Young lass.
Corey.
No, you don't have school today, but there's a reason for that. It's so you can remember some of the people who are responsible for all the freedoms that you have.
Freedoms? Oh, I'm Stuart.
You certainly are, Stuart. Maybe it would be easier if I just showed you what President's Day is all about, huh? Come on, let's have a look-see. President's Day is celebrated on the third Monday in February. Until 1971, both February 12th and February 22nd were celebrated as holidays. Abraham Lincoln's birthday on February the 12th and George Washington's birthday on February the 22nd. In 1971, when Richard Nixon was president, he changed it to one holiday for both events. From then on, we would remember our presidents on the third Monday in February. Since this time, the holiday has been termed President's Day. Most states honor the federal holiday, although some western and northern states honor Lincoln on his birthday and Washington on his birthday. On President's Day, banks, schools, and many offices are closed. That's it in a nutshell. Get it?
Well, kind of.
Hang on a second. Hear ye, methinks it's freedom that I see. Good day, madam. All the presidents wish you the best.
Now I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, Town Crier, tell me more about this grand celebration of our nation's leaders, aren't you? Well, you see, this all started with one man.
Wow, $1.
The man on the dollar bill.
George Washington?
Give it here a buck. He's right.
I already got a buck.
Most excellent how things work out that way. Let's take a look at the Honorable George Washington. First president, father of our country, dollar bill guy, and the reason President's Day started. On President's Day, we remember and honor George Washington for the many things he did to help the United States become a free and independent country.
When George Washington was living, America belonged to a country called England. People who lived in America were not free. They had to follow the rules, the laws of England. Americans fought a war to become free from England. That war was called the Revolutionary War.
George Washington led the American army to victory in the Revolutionary War against England. He worked for 8 years, and all that time, General Washington gave his service without being paid. Also, Congress did not give General Washington's men the supplies they needed. So, for many days, the men went without food and clothing. Many wrapped rags around their feet because they had no shoes. They slept with no blankets.
Many men wanted to leave the army and go home, but Washington was a good man who cared about them and the country, so the soldiers stayed and fought because of Washington.
George Washington became a national hero. He was and is a symbol of the fight for independence. After the war was won, the states needed a plan for the country's new government, so George Washington helped write the Constitution.
Leaders from the states met in Philadelphia, and although Washington was sick, he went anyway. The man did not quit. Washington was then elected by the leaders there to be in charge of the meetings.
This was a good thing because there were many arguments that had to be settled before everyone could agree to and sign the Constitution. But Washington stepped up, and because of the man he was able to keep the meetings going and the leaders from leaving. There were so many arguments that needed to be resolved that Washington called the actual signing of the Constitution a miracle. After that, many people wanted George Washington to be the king. Well, Washington refused to be a king. That's what they had before in England, and the people just fought a war to get rid of the control of a king. So Washington suggested a president, and this president would need to be elected by the people. Actually, what George Washington wanted to do by then was to go home to Mount Vernon and rest. But that would not be the case. George Washington was elected the first president of our country in February of 1789. While in office, he set the example of what a good president could do and how our country should run, examples we follow today. George Washington refused to serve a third term as president and did retire to Mount Vernon.
He kept busy, though, talking with people who visited him, and also writing back or corresponding with people who wrote to him.
Washington's birthday has been celebrated since Revolutionary times. On the first public celebration, soldiers who fought in the Revolutionary War with General Washington held a drum and fife concert for him, and cannons were fired in his honor. George Washington is remembered as the father of our country. People have made monuments and statues to honor him all over the country. People have parades and visit monuments to remember and honor him. School students make tri-cornered hats to remember George Washington. Many schools, cities, streets, a state, and even the capital of our country are named after George Washington. So George Washington is on the $1 bill and the quarter. So you can see how this all started. Hello, beautiful family! How about a gift for the presidential holiday?
It's just hard to frown with a floating celebration of our forefathers in your hands, isn't it?
So, President's Day is mostly for George Washington, right?
Not true, young American Miss Corey. At least, not anymore. On President's Day, we also honor Abraham Lincoln, our 16th president. Lincoln is recognized as an honest person, the president that freed the slaves, and the leader that kept our country together. Now, Abraham Lincoln was born in Kentucky in a log cabin. His family was very poor. Lincoln had to work to help the family, so he didn't get to go to school much. He gained the nickname Honest Abe due to his honesty and his willingness to work. It is said that he followed a man more than a mile to his home because the man had dropped a penny and Lincoln went to return it. Although he didn't go to school, he studied at home. He studied so hard that later he even became a lawyer. He ran in many elections for office, and he lost many elections for office, but he never gave up. He won the presidential election and became the 16th president of the United States in 1861. Soon after Lincoln was elected, a war between the states inside our country began. It was called the Civil War. Lincoln worked hard to keep the country together. But the southern states didn't want to be a part of the country anymore. So they tried to form a different country, which they called the Confederacy. This caused the Civil War, a war between the states in the North and the states in the South. During the Civil War, Lincoln gave a famous speech called the Gettysburg Address.
It was given at a place where some of the fighting of the Civil War took place.
Lincoln wanted to end the Civil War, to keep the country together and give everyone their freedom, specifically the slaves.
Slaves were people who were captured in Africa and forced to come to America, where they were bought, just like you buy a bicycle. They had to work without pay and obey everything their owners said to do.
Lincoln spoke out against slavery many times in his life. In 1863, he issued the Emancipation Proclamation. This freed the enslaved people in the Confederacy.
No one could own another person in those states anymore.
He even said, "As I would not be a slave, I would not be a master." Finally, the Civil War ended, and Lincoln was happy and relieved. In 1865, soon after the Civil War ended, Lincoln took his wife to Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. to see a play.
While there, he was killed by a man named John Wilkes Booth, who had sneaked in and shot the president where he sat in his balcony seat.
The president was immediately taken to a house across the street from the theater, but died soon thereafter.
A very sad day in American history.
There is a large monument in Washington, D.C. called the Lincoln Memorial in honor of the great Abraham Lincoln.
And, like George Washington, President Lincoln's picture is on our money, too. You'll see him on the $5 bill and on the penny.
So, now we know that President's Day started with George Washington, the father of our country.
And then Abraham Lincoln was at it.
So true. But what's most important here?
That we remember the great things that they did.
Excellent, that we remember the great things that they did, so that we can remember all of the freedoms they helped to give everyone in this great country we call the United States. But the beauty of President's Day is that it's a reminder to honor all the presidents. Hear ye, hear ye, heed my ring, 'tis of the leaders of freedom I proudly sing.
President's Day.
Yeah, look at that. Oh. Hey, what's that? I don't know. A fire bell or something. No, that's not a fire bell. Come on, let's go check it out. Oh, look at that. Look how he's dressed.
Hear ye, hear ye! 'Tis a grand
Come
day
on, let's go
to
check
be
it out.
For it is President's Day, on which I sing. Good day, Madam Town Crier, here with an important message. It's President's Day. Tell your friends.
Whoa, that's cool.
America celebrates the United States holidays. As we travel through the months of the year, we find many very special days along the way. They are fun-filled days to share with family and friends. But they are also days to remember the important people and events that have shaped the way we live today. We call these days holidays. And, like your birthday, each holiday has its own special day of the year, its own time to be celebrated. America celebrates.
Cool. How'd you do that?
Trade secret.
Maybe she didn't want that sticker.
No worries, young lass. She can always take it off, but she will think president when she does so.
What's the big deal about think president anyway?
Are you kidding me? Is he kidding me? Are you kidding me? It's...
A beautiful day to celebrate our leaders of freedom, sir.
Ha! You caught me. Good President's Day.